everyone's done with their greetings, and request a motion to approve the minutes of our motion made by Evelyn and seconded by Rachel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 1, I'm going to turn over to Paul.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is to request a temporary worker that would cover our mailroom services and print shop services. We have a full-time employee in that position. Some of you know her, is Connie. And unfortunately, she's been out on a disability for some time, and we don't know, we've been working around it for quite a while. We were able to use buildings and grounds during the off-season. Some of my staff has been covering, even county attorney staff has covered on occasion, but we've gotten to a point now where we've lost our buildings and grounds. We're really busy in my office, as you know, with a lot of things going on, and county attorney's office is always busy, and we just feel that at this point we just can't continue to try to cover for this position. And the last report is that we don't know when she's coming back at this point. So I'm hoping it's not going to be that much longer, but because of where we are, I'm asking for permission to hire a temporary worker without benefits. The current hourly rate for that position is $16.10 or 1.087 cents per hour. I would like permission to fill it up to that amount per hour if necessary, and we would look for about maximum 3 months, and I gotta believe it's going to be resolved well before that, but just so that I don't come back in case there is some issue that I can't foresee at this point. But that'll allow us to get the the mail delivered throughout the county, as well as all the print shop orders that we get from the various departments.
How many hours, Paul?
Well, she's a 40-hour worker. I'm going to see if we can do it anything less than 40, but I guess for permission purposes, I'd be asking for a temporary worker up to 40 hours a week at the 1.87 per hour for 3 months. If I can do it with less, I'll certainly try. Joanne and I have been talking about it, whether we could get by with somebody for 20 hours and try to make up the difference with some of the other staff. We'll certainly do whatever we can to save money. But at least if I have the maximum authority, I can get the job done.
You making a motion?
No, I have 2 questions.
Can I have a motion to get this on the floor for
That's on the
discussion?
agenda.
Okay, Rachel and Edna. Okay, Rachel.
Thank you. Just 2 quick questions. One, if it is up to 40 hours, then I'm assuming we have to offer benefits?
No, temporary worker.
So for temporary workers,
No benefits.
And then secondly, is this then a position, when we come back in 3 months, this position is going to be eliminated? It's not going to be a situation where we're keeping this person on, or?
What I would see happening, I gotta believe within 3 months this person will be back to work, in which case this position automatically goes away the minute that person comes back to work. If by then, I gotta believe we're gonna know where we are with this, and if for some reason this person decides not to come back to work, then we'll be looking to hiring somebody new for that position. But I guess in answer to your question, while I don't have a crystal ball, I would foresee that this will resolve itself and the temporary worker will be gone as soon as we get the issue resolved.
Right. My question is just if Connie comes back, we don't have to.
Oh, no, not at all.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, and I believe Martin is going to talk to the next agenda item.
Mr. Chairman, Resolution 211 of 2007 addresses the copying charges, fee charges for records of the Board of Elections, when the public is requesting records from the Board of Elections. The county has received a request from the chair of the Warren County Democrat Party that party and all constituted parties, as I understand there are 3 of them in the county, receive at no cost from the county a hard copy of the new or revised district enrollment rolls this year and then annually thereafter. Were the committee and the board to undertake and accept that request, it would require a resolution of 2011-2007 to carve out an exception for that purpose. I've looked at I've looked at this, I've looked at the law, I don't see anything impermissible about this. It certainly could be done, but it would require an amendment, in my opinion, to Resolution 2011 to 2007 to acknowledge that there is an exception under these circumstances. I've had a discussion with Mary Beth and Beth this morning. They've indicated that this is acceptable to them at the Board of Elections, and they could certainly accommodate the request should this committee and the Board of Supervisors so direct.
So, we're looking to amend?
Amend Resolution
2007.
2011, I'm sorry, strike that. Resolution 211 of 2007 to provide for an exception for the fees for constituted county committees within Warren County to receive this year and annually thereafter either the new or revised district enrollment rolls.
Motion by Evelyn, second by Peter. Any discussion? Jim?
Is that automatically would they receive this, or is that per their request?
Automatically.
What would be the reason for it being automatic?
The amendment to the resolution. What they're requesting is that they get this information this year,
Right.
and then each calendar year thereafter.
But couldn't it be just at their request, or?
Well, I suppose it could be, but there's nothing wrong with just adding this to the list of tasks for the Board of Elections to do. They're certainly willing to do that.
All right.
Bud?
Why wouldn't it be just as good to give them electronic copies?
Well, I posed that question, and I posed the question, they could have it, maybe we could give it to them on a disc. The county administrator would point out to you that if it was email, Board of Elections has a history of providing emails at, no expense. They want a hard copy, and that's the nature of their request.
Joe?
But I asked my question, but I guess I'd want to know why it has to be a hard copy. What does the expense entail for the Board of Elections to do this for 3 parties? I mean, we ask the Board of Elections all the time for electronic copies of things, and it's of no cost other than the time to compile it of your employee.
I don't know the specific answer to that question, Supervisor, but I got the impression that it wasn't a significant amount of work for the commissioners to do this.
We don't know the cost.
I don't know the cost off the top of my head. No.
Peter?
I know when we request a voters list from the Board of Elections these days, it's electronic. If you ask for a hard copy, you pay for it. So I would think they're certainly in the mode of electronic these days. So
I'll call her and ask her.
Bud?
I guess the other thing that I'm curious about, if you give it to each party, does that mean that if an independent runs and he doesn't have one of the major parties that he can't get in?
As I understand the request, would be for each constituted party. According to Mary Beth, there are 3 constituted parties in Warren County.
But if it had ran, they could still request it and get it. The difference would be simply they would have to pay for it.
Or accepted electronically,
Or pay
presumably.
electronically, which would be free, and then they could print it themselves. So I don't think we're barring anybody's access. And I think with FOIL law, don't we have to provide it in the format that they requested, generally speaking? I mean, as long as it's not...
Well, if it's in electronic format, they can request it in electronic format, and as long as we don't have to make a copy of that document to provide it in electronic format, we do not have the right to charge a fee. If they request it in hard copy,
We have the right to charge a fee.
we have a right to charge a fee of up to 25 cents
But
per
if they
page.
requested a hard copy, like a printed copy, and they were willing to pay the fee, essentially, and it was an open document like this would be, we would then have to provide it in a printed format if that's what they requested.
Correct. It's the fee that they're requesting the
Right.
waiver from.
Will they still have to spoil it?
No.
No,
'Cause that's, if I go over to Board of Elections, I want one page. I gotta foil it, I gotta go back to the treasurer's office, pay a quarter, then go back to Human Services Building and go up and I can get my piece of paper.
But you can get it electronically.
I could get it
Costs
electronically.
about $10 to do that.
Are you ready to vote on this yet?
Yeah, ready.
Okay, all in,
I mean, I know that
wanna wait till
our,
Kevin
I
gets
guess
back?
I'd wanna know, I can vote no, it's fine, but I just would
I-
wanna know the cost,
Yeah,
and
I
I'd wanna know
I thought the
why.
chairman was stepping out to try to get the cost.
I just think we need to be mindful of the fact that not only the cost, the time entailed, but also the environment. I mean, I don't, until I hear a good reason on why it's gotta be a hard copy, I don't understand.
I wasn't privy to the conversations, I just know that their request is for a hard copy.
Well, do we wanna hold this up?
Sure.
I mean, I don't wanna go over for the next meeting and we're,
We have something else to do.
yeah, so we can
Yeah.
talk about,
I just don't understand why.
third, we're gonna go on to number 3
So
on the
if you
agenda.
want,
Next day,
you
it's
know,
out
at
of
this point, the
date.
information I have in front of me, I can vote, but.
Kevin's making a phone call, so,
Right.
but we can do this other one.
Yeah, let's go on to item 3. And this, Paul's gonna go into a little detail with it. This is a new policy regarding access to, security cameras. It has some amendments that Martin has suggested. There's 2 things that you can do today. You can either go ahead and vote on it, or you can take a month and digest it. You wanna speak to this anymore?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I give a little background on this. This arose, a while ago. Mike Colvin approached me on the camera system asking who in the county, well, actually, a particular person in the department had made a request for access, and he said, well, can they have access to, prior recordings and things, and at the time, it was thought maybe even hooking up to the cameras. So he came to me, and when I looked at the matter, it was very obvious to me we had no official policies on this. So what I did is I asked the sheriff, Mike, I think Kevin was there, a few people to get together and just kind of look things over and talk about it. And it became, as a result of our conversations, the issues became, well, one was that physical access to the cameras themselves and recording equipment, and then secondarily, access to either the live live viewing or later access to recorded. So we shot it around a bit, and it became the policy that ended up coming out of all of this was, well, since IT maintains all this stuff, it seems like their contractors should really be the only ones that have access to physically connecting things to the equipment, et cetera, for security purposes, for continuity purposes, in case you did want to go back and take a look at it. So that's the first phase of the policy. The second phase of the policy was actual access to the prior recordings. The concern here is that we were concerned that people could ask to access recordings for impermissible purposes. And impermissible purposes could be that the viewings of what they were trying to view was not for a proper legitimate government purpose, could be in conflict with a collective bargaining agreement requirement or something. So we didn't want to have create situations that could potentially get us into some legal issue. So what we ended up recommending here was that the IT director and his staff, as well as the sheriff, because the sheriff would have viewing privileges because he was checking out potentially criminal activity or needing to do that, or his staff if there was a security breach because the sheriff's folks are at the entrances. They should have the right to immediately access back with the presumption, obviously, that their purposes are for the security and or possible criminal activities. The IT director should have access back over the videos for any number of reasons, primarily technical, which I've seen in the past, just to even see if something was working on a particular day. Then it became a matter of, okay, who else could have access and how do we control that? And how do we have safety valves on that? So then we thought that any other county official asking for access to the recordings could receive that after they put their reason in writing and it's reviewed by the county administrator with consultation with the county attorney. That's the safety valve to make sure that the access is being done for legitimate purposes and not, like I say, violating something or causing us some sort of a problem. So that's really, in essence, the policy. What had happened is after we sent out the policy, I got Martin's changes and I attached those to you. You'll see that they're very minimal. He just clarified a couple of points, primarily duly authorized representatives and referencing real-time camera videos instead of live camera recordings. Certainly his suggestions were very worthwhile. But that's the policy, and as the chairman mentioned, we've been without this policy for a long time. There's no big rush. If you don't feel comfortable moving ahead with it today, we can certainly put it off for a month. But it would cover, you know, all these new cameras that we have put up in the building, plus the cameras that are over in the HSB building.
But
I move to approve it.
moved by Bud, second by Edna. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask it anyway. How does this apply to foil? Because I know one of the things, we've got, security videos in our town hall, and, some of the video is foilable. I don't see anything in here to say, is our foil policy covering that, or how are we addressing that?
Well, it would be covered because it's anybody else requesting, so it would come to me, consultation with Martin. Martin would check the FOIL laws and advise whether or not we have to release it.
Would they start at the FOIL officer, and the FOIL officer comes to you? I don't think, are you the FOIL officer, Paul? I didn't think-
For IT, it would be Mike Colvin. Every department is their own FOIL
All right,
officer.
so that's how it's going to, that's all I need to know, thank you.
I don't know if I got a good answer to your question. The foilability and the process, the procedure, so if someone foils the camera, what happens from that?
Well, they would foil, presumably the record described would be a video recording of a particular date or particular time of day on that date, right? That would be the FOIL request. That would go to Mike Colvin. In turn, Mike Colvin would then consult with Paul, who could consult with me as the case may be. My understanding is that video recordings are generally, you know, disclosable records under FOIL. A possible exception, Supervisor, could be if there is an ongoing investigation, and at that time, if the Sheriff's Office or State Police or whoever were involved with the investigation, and that was a piece of evidence in the investigation, I believe under FOIL, that record could be withheld under an applicable exemption.
Thank you.
Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I presume we're voting on the modified version that Martin, okay.
I would hope so.
Right, so that motion's carried. Kevin, you got some information for us?
I couldn't reach Lynn, but I did talk to the Democratic commissioner over there, and it was just her preference to have a hard copy. They had no problem with it. She requested one once a year.
Was there any information, so we don't have, Supervisor Seaver, it sounds like we don't have an answer to your question about cost. Can I just call Mary Beth? Is that permissible? It'll only take a second.
You can do what you wish,
Okay,
Martin.
I'll be right back.
While
As you were, smoke 'em if you got 'em.
While we're waiting, can we have it noted in the minutes that, Ron is wearing a shirt from Thailand that's very purple?
Do we have black and white cameras?
They shouldn't have an issue with that, should they?
Are there any other things we wanna hash out
Electronic end of it, not okay.
on this issue with the Board of Elections while we're waiting for Martin? Guess not.
I basically, if they want it, I don't see any, it's not like a huge burden.
Just say, how expensive it could it be? I mean,
Well,
they're looking for one copy, right?
right. I would only say,
That'd be less than $100.
I was gonna say, I don't see how,
the only thing is, I don't see the reason for automatically sending it to everyone unless they want it, right?
We're only sending it
It's only three
it's only,
parties.
only three people.
You know, you were saying independent.
last
No, they're not gonna do that. They're not
Oh,
gonna do it to
okay.
independents.
That's not in the resolution.
But
I guess I thought maybe
think it's that expensive.
I don't know, I prefer a lot of things in paper too, but I don't do that.
I'll get it electronically and print it out.
Also, bear in mind that the cost to the individual going to the Board of Elections at 25 cents a page is probably not what it actually costs to
Right.
produce it.
I mean, I don't see, to me, it's not that big a deal to me.
It's not that big a deal.
I don't
You
think
know,
so.
it only costs friction if
I can't imagine anybody wanting a hard copy, you know, it's out of date the next day.
that's my feeling too, but if they want it, what the heck?
I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a,
We should all do spot mark paperless.
oh, I agree. I don't disagree with you at all.
I was under the impression this was a big document.
No, it probably is number of pages.
I said, picture battles. Picture
I'm
battles.
not fighting it, I just had a question.
Stripping naked and running around in the sunshine.
What's going on back
Well,
here?
I've had to get everything electronically anyway, and see.
Huh?
Another day in paradise, we're just having fun.
Stripping naked and run around in paradise?
Hopefully you don't pay benefits.
Okay. We're not on TV,
Terminology
are
every now and then surprises me.
It's gonna be August before I start.
Higher, but it's some exception to the rules then. Yeah.
Do you see that thing on Fox News the other night on, Glens Falls?
You know,
What we want, this is what it's cost.
that drove me nuts, because they advertise it. Fox 23, you say, no, Fox 23, we've got Channel 7, you know?
Yeah, well,
But all it was a segment of the news.
yeah.
I ran across,
For an answer, that's the idea.
I know, and I apologize, I just, you know what the bottom line is, it just comes up, an agenda item, if that's what they want, what's your comment gonna be? Why is it here, here's my request, you know?
Yeah.
Salt thing this afternoon? Yeah, me too. Yeah, 11:30 registration, then lunch, and I guess it starts like 12:30 or
coincidentally,
2:30.
we were
Give
cleaning up
somebody
the
from
stuff at
your
home,
department
and I came
highway
across two Original Look magazines.
Oh.
What'd you do with it?
I threw them away.
Oh.
Oh, you knucklehead.
I mean, give them to the.
Well, I figured I should go just
Well,
because all the
they got 'em
big
already.
issue. Chris came up and came down one afternoon.
Yeah.
I once found
I
a
did talk to
newspaper.
as long as everybody's in
highway and
agreement.
deputy
Star and,
on there. That's my own
Glens
information.
Falls, whatever it was.
I forgot you were on it, Rachel.
20.
I forgot you were
Temporary
temporary
library, said, do you want
Well,
this?
you kind of
I
didn't
said,
give
no.
them any choice. You just said, we think you guys need to.
I said, well, what do I do with them?
Usually they don't put
Well,
any.
you're trying to preserve it. I said, well, how do I do that? They go, for
Pardon me?
Well, we gotta delay it.
Not enough,
Chapman might be
not
more.
nearly enough.
I think I may have held it, this is years ago.
$52.
About it today.
Democratic Party.
$52.50 for the Democrats, $114 for the Republicans, and $30-some for the.
I'm sure I'm not proud of it.
It's a hundred, right?
We may.
Okay, can we have some order? Can you repeat that, please, Kevin?
Well, he may have more accurate, but just off my head, $52.50 for the Democrats, $114 for the Republicans, and like $30 for conservatives. And I just talked to Lynn, and she prefers it that way. She doesn't have a big printer at home, and she likes that. And when candidates come in, I for one say, please give it to her.
Got anything to add, Martin?
I'm not sure at this point.
Why do they have different prices for
I
different?
It's a different
I
size.
spoke to Mary Beth Casey,
You're only giving them.
Voting rules, so it's number of pages.
did a rough estimate, and in order to provide all three constituted committees with all three lists, the cost would be annually about $330. Now, the reason why I'm saying now is that based upon my conversation with Mary Beth, I understand that it would be only the Democratic Party and the Conservative Party that would likely want the hard copies. The Republican Party prefers to receive this electronically because they do it in a spreadsheet format. So I think the cost would actually be less than that, probably by a third, so $220 or something like that.
Would probably be lower than that, because they aren't anywhere near ESOL
Oh, is that right?
registration-wise.
Okay, so that's what was reported to me.
I feel as long as it keeps us under the tax cap, then we should approve it.
Well, I appreciate you getting that information, thank you, and, you know, I just think that information should be provided to us. I do hope in the future that they consider an electronic format. Clearly, one out of the three parties is doing so, but given the cost amount and the Board of Elections doesn't have a problem with copying it, I appreciate the information.
Are you ready to vote? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Is there any other business to come before the committee? Motion to adjourn?
I think we got a chance to do some horse trading with Kevin.
Finance.